In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, we often forget about the one relationship that matters the most. It's the foundation upon which all other relationships are built, the relationship with ourselves. The day we are born, as we're taught by our parents, when we go to kindergarten, school, job, anywhere we go to, and anyone we meet, we're being brought into the system of thoughts and beliefs of how one person should act and behave and be in this world. And while we're trying to learn how to fit in, how to please someone, we get these little, I wouldn't say disorders, but imbalances as to where we're constantly scanning everyone in the room, trying to make sure that people around us are doing well, that emotionally they're doing good, that they're happy, that everyone is fine. And while we're trying to take care of everyone else, please their needs and wants and adjust and basically even lose ourselves at times to do something for others just to fit into the situation, just to avoid useless bickering, avoid arguments, avoid anything that would cause stress and something negative. We're trying to fit in. And in a way, we have to wear masks. We have to be someone who we're not. We have to forget our needs and be like everyone else, fitting into the system. But as we do that, how are we holding on to the relationship with ourselves? How much do we care about ourselves and how we're doing it at all? Sometimes we might be unhappy, but still helping others. We know it's not something we want to do, but we're trying to please someone else. We know we don't have time. It's not our priority. It's not something we want or need, but we're still sacrificing ourselves for someone else. Usually, most people do. But in it all, I think it is very important to draw a line, to protect ourselves. It's not about selfishness or loving yourself and being vain that much. Self-love is very important. Prioritizing yourself is very important. Having self-esteem is very important, but it all starts with understanding who we are. And in this world, it seems like we don't really have time. We don't really have situations where we can sit down and take our time to look within, have that introspection, and analyze, is this exactly who I want to be, how I want to feel, what I want to do? Because our parents are telling us one thing, there's our siblings, there's our relatives, there's people at school, people at work, and everyone else. And as we're trying to adjust, we forget ourselves. We always have those I should and shouldn't. You want to be a musician, but your parents say that, hey, you're not going to make real money with that. You should be a lawyer. You should be a dentist. And you want to go draw, and they're saying, no, you should not waste your time on that. You should be doing something more productive. You should do something that will make your career bigger. And you're thinking about well, I don't want to go to college. I want to take a year off. And you have a pushback from parents or someone else. And all of these things where we're constantly trying to adjust and, wear masks, trying to be with someone and pretending most of our lives. So I think it's really important to find time to sit down. And, even if it's in the bathroom, even if it's when you're taking a shower, there has to be a moment in the day when you by yourself can be authentic with yourself. Who are you? What do you want to do? Do you really want to go to that school? Do you really want to be at that job? And I'm not saying that what I'm talking about is super easy to do. Switch jobs, go to a different school. No, I know survival, having to take care of our primary needs and everything else, that is super important. But at the same time, being authentic, can you really express yourself when you want to? Start singing, acting goofy, doing random things you feel like you should do. And I know for a lot of people, as we're looking into this, let's say spiritual community, people who are woke or however we would call those, awaken and everything else, so many labels these days. A lot of people feel like they have so many things they want to talk about, but they cannot do it. And it's like people end up being isolated because they cannot be themselves, because they're afraid of being misunderstood, being judged, being laughed at, and all these things into, like, hey, can you really say what you want to say? Do you really feel that way? If someone insults like someone around you and making jokes, and can you really stand up for something you believe in, or more that you're like gonna adjust and not get bullied? And I'm not saying that you have to act authentic all the time, but it's never like 95% authentic and 5% not. It's either all the way or none. And we have to draw a line with how far are we going to take it? How far are we going to pretend, wear masks? Because if we look at like relationships we have with everyone else, if you will not put yourself first, which you have to, none of these relationships will be good. Like to some point, as you're pleasing others, they might start believing and having the picture of you as a person that you're not. Thinking that, like, oh, this person is always happy, this person is always fine. They have so many things to talk about. And they don't know that deep inside you're dying, that you want to cry, that you want to like burst up in tears and just talk about bunnies or something. They don't know that. So people have different image of you than what you're really showing them. They have a different understanding of you. If you're not addressing your needs, if you're not saying, no, at that day, I cannot show up. I don't even want to. I don't want to go out. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to pick up the phone. I'm sorry. And not even sorry, like, hey, sorry, I don't feel like talking. But it's it's hard. It's hard to get to that point. But I think if we want to function well in life with ourselves, with everyone else, we have to put ourselves first. As in, if I'm not feeling at my best today, I'm not going to perform well when I go out and do something else. If I don't take extra few hours of sleep, if I don't take that shower, if I don't eat, or, basic needs or something that you want to do, you wanted to rest, you have to put a priority to that. Give yourself like, hey, I'm going to be first. Practicing that self-love, practicing that self-esteem that yes, you are worth it. It is super important for you to put yourself first, to understand yourself, and then start communicating about these things, communicating about your needs, your wants, your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions. And again, all of these things I'm talking about, easy for me to talk to, easy for me to like mention all of these things. I'm working on it myself every single day, learning how to say like, I don't want to do it. I can't. I'm not interested. All my life, I have been adjusting to everyone else because I had this massive fear of abandonment. I had this massive fear of hurting someone else. I always felt guilty. And I feel like I am responsible for everyone else. Even when people don't care, they don't even know. I feel like, me being in the room surrounded by tons of people, I am responsible for how everyone feels. And this is so messed up. But the way a lot of people are being raised, and like me as well, it's like a lot of this criticism and judgment, and we're not taught to love ourselves that much. We're not taught to draw a line or communicate, or even when we try to communicate, our wants and needs are not being respected. What happened to me, as much as I've tried to communicate as a kid and a teenager that there was something I didn't want, it would still happen. And it's not like to say, hey, I don't want this, and like I'm being this grumpy bitchy kid. But if someone asks, like, like, hey, what's your flavor? Would you like this or that? And I would say this, I prefer this one, if you're asking. And they would get the opposite all the time. Why? So like with all these things, I've learned, and it took me years, that, hey, I have to respect myself. If it's something I don't like, I have to communicate. And as I'm working on myself these days, being authentic, but like going all the way. I know my words can hurt someone. I know people might not like me. I know I will upset people. I know I will not be able to save everyone. I am not a hero anymore. I'm not, I'm going to save everyone and like having the savior syndrome and everything else. I have to drop that responsibility. I know, like, just like everyone else, I'm trying to be a decent human being. And every single action I do, like constantly scanning everything around me, trying to make sure everything's going to be fine. Everyone's pleased, everyone's happy. What can I do to make sure there are no arguments? Just because I don't like that. But it doesn't mean that I have to control everything. I can't. I can only control myself. So can I communicate about my wants and needs? Can I walk out if I don't want to work there? Can I just say, no, I'm not going to do it? I don't agree with that. And like baby steps. We don't change overnight. I wish we could. But every single day, if you find a moment where you felt like saying something, say it. You feel like doing something, do it. Even if you feel like I just want to be lazy today, do it consciously. Consciously turn on your TV, buy that donut, chill, don't do anything. But I think it's like super important that we take time to understand our true needs and wants. I know with me, like in that fear of abandonment, and specifically in love relationships, there would be that jealousy. But I address it as jealousy, like, oh, there's something I'm not getting, and it's, like the partner's doing something, we have to communicate. But as I ask myself, like, why? Why am I feeling jealous? Why am I not getting this? And why do I feel like that? And I would go deeper and it would be just like, well, I would just like to be understood and communicate that, like, hey, I love you and here's how I feel. And I would like you to understand that. You don't have to change. I just want you to understand me. And like, gosh, feeling jealous, feeling all those things when you cannot communicate simply that, hey, today I don't feel so good, or hey, can you just hug me for a few minutes? I would really like that. How hard is that? But for me, it was super hard. And like these days, I'm learning. I'm learning to communicate and like be myself. So that's my thing. I'm just like babbling a little bit, but do you think relationship with ourselves is the most important in our lives? And if yes, why? How does that impact your life? How, like, are you prioritizing this relationship with yourself? And what are some of the things you're doing to make it better, to work on yourself, to do you see changes like when you're taking care of yourself and then how you act with others? If yes, or just share your story, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.